Is it 1 or 2? Camera 1 or 2? 1? Okay, we got camera 1 in the house. All right, I just had to be ready because we have an incredible guest on tonight's episode. We are here live from Cambridge, Massachusetts at the Cambridge Community Television TV studios in their BeLive set, bringing Café con Gas to you. I'm really excited for tonight's episode. Café con Gas is a show that brings dialogue alive on healing arts and diversity, and tonight we have Louis, who's going to be a guest on our show tonight, premiering his new single, Bleed, from the album from That New Violence that he's been working on. You can check out That New Violence at thatnewviolence.net, and you can also check out Louis Morris Poetry on facebook.com. That is for later. We have Louis in the studio, but we also have some business to do before we get on to the rest of the episode. So again, our episode, we have occasional guests, and tonight we have poet, writer, movie critic, beat maker, MC, educator, and so much more. So I'm really, really excited. So in the tradition of Café con Gas, we're going to start with what we do best, which is our emotional check-in. And there we go. All right, so we're going to start with our emotional check-in. How am I feeling today? Whew, I'm feeling happy. I'm feeling a little bit hysterical, but not in a bad way. Slightly embarrassed. I was really excited for Café con Gas. I've been collaborating with a friend of mine who's also in digital media. We're doing some photography, and I just had this moment right before we were going out to shoot. I was like, oh, I'm really shy and embarrassed, and I'm like, no, I get on TV all the time. This is actually part of the artist's way, is overcoming those barriers to getting the message out there. So I'm feeling good about that. But yeah, overall, just really happy and just really excited to use Café con Gas as a platform to bring on this really special guest today. So there's a lot that has been going on in the news. One of these items that I wanted to bring up to your attention is this gentleman right here, Christian Titman, who actually, he's from Clovis, California, and he sued the state of California. The debate has been over eagle feathers, and this has been a very interesting topic for me to cover because eagles are endangered, right? So they make these feathers illegal, but they're also part of ritual sacred ceremony. So after suing the state, he wears his eagle feathers to graduation, and it's a really incredible story. And I think it's a great story of advocacy and how often do we talk about legal battles as, oh, I'm going to sue you because this is unfair, or I'm going to sue you because I'm in a place of privilege. This gentleman uses the legal system to promote a piece of his culture, and I think that's just really, really important. So yeah, the names of healing, bravo. In the name of art, I'm going to take myself out of this picture and show you Granny. There is a huge movement happening in Portugal, and I'm really excited. And I'm actually going to, me voy a contar en español para todos los viewers que hablan español también. Pero está pasando en las calles de Lisboa, en Portugal, un grupo de abuelas. No hay hombre haciendo esta cosa. They're just a group of grandmothers called Lata 65. And they're actually causando una gran controversia. Con el apoyo de diferentes artistas, with the support of different artists, these women are changing the meaning of street art and also in their age. So I really, really love seeing this article. And I really like seeing artists support, I really like seeing these artists come together in solidarity, and also to just demystify women and aging. I was having a conversation about this. I tend to observe many times in America, this is a place that, defeminizes the women's aging process. And, there's a lot of prejudice also against senior citizens and what they do. So seeing this article was just a really, really awesome reminder, a really, really awesome reminder how you can let women age in public, and doing so while also contributing and intergenerationally people coming together. So I love this story. So in the name of arts, I wanted to bring this to you guys today for your Café con Gas News Digest. So healing, arts, diversity. What's in it for diversity? The truth and lies about poverty. This is something that I have been working on all week. I read this really interesting article in the Washington Times that talked about the 5 myths of poverty, and I really Something I really love to do on Café con Gas is bring a lot of what I do in my academic environment or during the day and translate this back to the public. When I was doing this and reading about the lies of poverty, some of the top points, and I'm going to pull this up for you, were so darn obvious. We're still talking about an academic book talking about one of the myths that poor people are lazy. It's just something that I've heard over and over again, and one of the reasons why I do Café con Gas is to show diversity, not just racial diversity, but also cognitive diversity, developmental diversity, and also economic diversity. The book brings up 5 points. Poor people do not value education, lazy, poor people are substance abusers, and I thought the best quote in relation to the substance abuser quote said, why do we not say, no wonder so many rich kids don't do well in college, their parents are also all alcoholics. So I think that's really interesting, and there's also some legitimate research that's being done to show that people in poverty are less likely to drink and experience other extreme stressors and trauma that can actually challenge your memory and challenge you in different ways. So I think that's a really, really important issue. So bringing it just a little bit deeper. I just want to kind of slow it down a little bit. We do emotional check-ins, and I need to breathe. Because this is such an intense issue to report on, especially in my own experience, coming from a diverse socioeconomic background. It's sometimes middle class, it's sometimes, being in a household that we collectively make less than $15,000, and there's 2 adults in the household. So for me, I just have to take a breather, because it's one thing to see these issues be in the news, but it's another thing to see a voice who doesn't understand or hasn't lived with this personally narrating that story. So while I got the data and I thought this was great, I also thought to myself, man, if we can actually pay someone who lived through the experience to tell their story versus paying a consultant that hasn't lived that experience to tell the story as they observe someone else telling it, then we can make a change. But Café con Gas is going to do that in a little bit, because Louis is going to be with us. But these are some of the issues that I've been working on and working through and trying to apply. What can we do? So for a little artistic aid, again, Café con Gas brings dialogue alive on healing, arts, and diversity. I found this really, really, really incredible comic strip by Toby Morris, and it's called Privilege on a Plate. And I just want to click on this for you guys and show you as we redirect what this has been about. So this is really interesting, and it's just it's a comic strip that takes 2 different children, 2 different environments. And it says some things that are obvious and some things that are not. I want to focus on some of them because I don't necessarily agree with this representation, but that's why we have the news and resources out so you can formulate your own opinion. I will share this with you, however. Right here is really incredible. Right here it says, Richard's parents will do anything for their baby. So both of their parents are helping him with his homework. And Paula, when I read it, I said Paula, says, and so will Paula's, but that's why they're working 2 jobs, and she's watching television. So that in itself is the parental engagement. I'm providing for you, and you're going to be okay. So it's a really interesting balance, and there's a lot of myths around it. So given all those myths, we really have to ask ourselves, what is the truth? There's your story, my story, and there's also a third side of the story. So just stay tuned to checking your own privilege, having those conversations, but also I think widening the lens. I've had a lot of conversations really late in the game with friends in regard to privilege, and it's been a little bit of a hard thing to kind of navigate through. But visual aids like this can help, and art can also help. So, keep seeking those venues. So I'm really excited. I'm going to go back to the episode. That's your healing arts and diversity portion update for tonight's episode. But one of the reasons why I'm so excited this evening is because I talk about healing arts and diversity, and once in a while I'll have a guest or a conversation that really embodies all of those topics. And I have Lewis, who's about to join us right now, and we're gonna premiere before he comes on for an interview. We're gonna, this is like a huge event. We're gonna premiere his new single, Bleed, from That New Violence. And I'm just gonna go straight to the art, and then we're gonna talk about it there. And then bring Lewis onto the show. But I think his art speaks for himself. But also, Lewis is also extremely accomplished as a poet, a writer, a beat maker, an MC, an educator, award-winning, self-describable dork. Lewis is addressing what the media wants you to forget. He has taught across schools and also attended various schools at different points in his life. Lewis is addressing these really tough issues, and That New Violence is his third album. Tonight, Lewis will be premiering Bleed for the first time, which I'm gonna come and cue up for you guys. And it's a very intense look into the state of media, and also combining genres in a new way, in an honest way, in a way that might make you feel uncomfortable or completely liberated. That is up to you, and that is your problem, because this is pure art, pure truth. And I'm really excited to bring up this video. So give me a second to cue this up. Let's do a little like Apple F for full screen effects. And Lewis also he's premiering the single, but also created a clip just for Café con Gas. So I'm really excited. So bear with me just for a moment, make sure the audio levels are set. And this is the premiere of Bleed, followed by an in-studio interview with the man himself. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Sit back, relax, and let yourself be moved. Not just yet, hold on. A little like Pete, there we go. All right, let's bring down the level a little bit. Thanks for tuning in. This is live community television if you can't see behind me, so thanks for bearing with me. So yeah, here we go.
Old spitter, straight gold shitter. Exercise demons means you, nigga. You crawl through a sewer just to get to a river. There's actually a toilet to get a cup of water. Consume with the thirst unquenchable, I don't support them. So you're so for drips, so this rhyme is post-mortem. A couple of good niggas tried to get me to join them, make my blackness agreeable, but that's a tall order. I'm a nigga, my music is loud, my language ain't spell checked. I'm expected to self-edit my existence, proofread my blackness. First draft, second draft. Truthfully, the fact is my skin's ink is permanent. Nah, there ain't no subtle way to state this, but being in black skin is a war with the self-deemed invisible internal bleeding's typical. You don't get no band-aids, walk that shit off and bleed. Let it leak down beneath the concrete where our ancestors rest. They told me to lighten up. That's just impossible. Look at my skin tone, nigga. It's only getting darker, so the hell with your advice. Yo, I'm done being polite. To these new blacks with the famous racism, my apologies, host niggas. Kiss my ass. Blackness gonna blow like. What's that to tumble a nigga? Oh, does that offend you? To write a blog about it, rent the Facebook like I give a shit. These are all your white friends, but announcing other niggas like you ain't one of us. Like your Ivy League degree gives you to write the shit. My niggas content with the GED. Shame us for being poor, call us lazy and entitled. Won't say any of this shit to our faces. You divide black people, then preach togetherness, antagonize your own niggas and reap the benefits. So nah, I'm not gonna turn up so low and bash it. In fact, all of this shit you been talking, maybe even blacker. Who's that the Tumblr, nigga?
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
America's the soil, hate is the seed. Corpses are the only things that grow from these trees. And if my validation as a man is what you need, I'll stab myself repeatedly so you can watch me bleed. America's the soil, hate is the seed. Corpses are the only things that grow from these trees. And if my validation as a man is what you need, I'll stab myself repeatedly so you can watch me bleed. America's the soil, hate is the seed. Corpses are the only things that grows in these trees. And if my validation as a man is what you need, I'll stab myself repeatedly so you can watch me bleed.
Okay, world, that was Bleed from That New Violence by Louis M. I'm just going to give it a round of applause as I welcome him behind the desk. Please at home on your studio, give a big, warm round of applause, send good vibes to Cambridge, and welcome Louis M. to the studio. So, thank you. Thank you. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, please have a seat.
I shall.
So how many times have I played a video, but now we have the artist here live to speak about his work and his life. Louis, that was really incredible.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming onto the show. I was looking at, where do you want to start? I have a bunch of quotes from your song that moved me, and I'm sitting here as I'm listening to this. Louis and I got a chance to sit down with each other.
Yeah.
And I want the audience to really. You say America is the soil, hate is the seed. I'll stab myself repetitively as you watch me bleed. What's going on here for you?
Well, with that particular line, so the whole sort of conceptual basis of the song is this self-criticism that the Black community experiences within itself.
Yeah.
You have people who are put on somewhat of a pedestal, like Bill Cosby, until recently,
right?
Or
or
Al Sharpton, or these guys who have always been like the faces and the voices of these movements, criticizing the new generation and how they choose to go about these movements. There's a lot of respectability politics that happen when you talk about things like Black Lives Matter, and in context of everything that's been going on. So. America's the soil, hate is the seed is more talking about this sort of mentality that's put into a lot of Black people in this country, that you have to dress a certain way, look a certain way, talk a certain way in order to be respected by the general populace.
Right.
And that hate grows into yourself trying to prove that you're a person,
right.
That you're not just 3/5, you're a person.
Yeah.
But that's a pipe dream,
Yeah.
And I think I used that sort of analogy to talk about where that point of view comes from.
So this is your third album. What has been the inspiration? Congratulations,
Thank
first
you.
of all. That's huge. I did read in your bio, and I want to share with the audience that you've been performing and writing since the age of 11. So you've been on this journey for a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I started writing poetry when I was 11 years old. The first poem I ever wrote was actually when I was feeling really low, was suicidal at the time. So this poem was if you read it today, it would sound like a suicide note.
Wow.
And maybe it was, but it was a form of expression. Meanwhile, at the same time, I was also doing public speaking at my church. They used to have this thing called Youth Sundays, where they'd let kids go up and preach a sermon, and I did.
Yeah.
The pastor was so impressed that he decided to stick me in front of an audience of hundreds of people and preach a message. And it was crazy, and that was the first time I experienced that feeling of telling your own personal truth. Even if it was a sermon at the time.
Yeah.
I was I got high off of that, and I needed more.
That's incredible.
And that's how I discovered Poetry Slam later.
That's
on.
incredible.
Yeah.
And you're also I also wanted to give you an opportunity. You're also part of an incredible group of poets.
Yes.
As well.
Flatline Poetry.
Okay.
And it's four of us, myself, Guillermo, Alyssa, and Kaylee.
Okay. Shout out to Flatline Poetry.
Yeah, shout out Flatline. Hey guys, if you're watching.
You guys are great.
And we're just a group of people who write together, perform together, teach together. We did TEDx talk back in January.
Okay.
Really, we try and bring artistry to wherever we go, whether that be through workshops or performances or hosting open mics. When it's the four of us together and we collaborate, it's magic,
That's incredible.
And also it's just an excuse for us to be friends even after we graduate. So there's that
Awesome.
too.
Awesome. That's really incredible. I wanted to know just it's interesting because you have that new violence, and there's certain lyrics that sound, I mean, just from your story right now, poetry began as a very intimate moment, writing to yourself or writing this very intense note. And it's you speak a lot in this song about people telling you to lighten up, being invisible, all of these moments, and you know, the images that you use are such strong images against violence against Black men. How has violence affected your life, and how have you?
Like it's been a rough like past year.
Yeah.
With everything that's been happening, and you know, I grew up with a particular self-hate, you know, because obviously I'm dark skinned, as you can tell, everybody. And you know, I always just had this thing about being the darkest one of my family, usually being the darkest person in the room, and just not valuing my skin like at all.
Wow.
And thinking about that and all the things that that people from a different generation or people from a different class might say to people in a lower class to sort of, you know, help them get respected, you know?
Yeah.
Like when writing this song, I thought about the father who basically hid his children away from rap music, from basketball, from everything, basically so that his kids can be respected in the eyes of white people. So that, you know, things like Mike Brown or Trayvon Martin won't happen to him.
Right.
You know? And I think this idea that like putting on like a suit and tie is suddenly going to get you respected. All of a sudden, rinsing your language of, you know, the N-word or other curse words is suddenly going to stop cops from stopping you, you know? Like there are, I'm sure, Black CEOs who get stopped by police all the time when they drive in their own in their own upper class neighborhoods that they live in.
Yeah.
I don't think that is the problem. I don't think, you know, lightening up is the problem. I think it's a toxic society that devalues Blackness, and it's not our problem. You know, it's not like I can't. It's not my problem because I can't change this. You know, so. Yeah.
You give such an incredible. It's your words are a gift, and it's something I was looking through the next like the new violence that new violence website, and there was something really interesting, and you said you say the revolution was televised and then it got canceled by a network, and there's a lot in between the lines that I read. That is, it's meant to have a long-lasting effect. So as we wrap out tonight's episode, we have about 2.5 minutes left.
Okay.
I would really love for you to share with the audience, and I would love to know what effect do you have to intend to have on people with this particular body of work? Because what you're doing is super avant-garde, combining all these mediums together and just speaking from your life. It's raw. It's true. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Well, the long-lasting effects I see for that new violence, I hope, is to cause a more honest conversation about the sort of cultural narrative around Blackness and around violence against Black bodies, or, you know, honestly, over, you know, bodies that aren't, you know, A, male, B, heterosexual, and C, white. Because I think this affects different groups, and I think the more we're willing to honestly talk about these situations, I think the closer we can get to having a better society and finding a way to stop these things from happening. But, you know, the whole conceptual basis of that new violence is the sort of cultural reset that we go through. Like Mike Brown, oh my God, that's sad, and then we forgot about it. And then Eric Garner, oh my God, that's sad, and then we forgot about it. And then, you know, Walter Scott, oh my God, that's sad, and then we then we forget about it. You know, I had to look up Walter Scott's name before coming here. You know, there is like this like automatic reset button that, and we act shocked every time these things happen. You know, so that's kind of that's what I hope is a long-lasting effect, is sort of making that more honest dialogue happen.
I like that. And I feel so fortunate that you came onto Café con Gas to have some of that dialogue, because even from the short, I wish the show would go longer. We could sit and talk to Louis.
Okay.
We're wrapping it up, but I hope that, I hope that everyone takes away that honest dialogue. And I think what you're doing is, we need that discourse and audience in multiple platforms. So it's so awesome that you came to show us how you fuse those platforms together.
And thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
I was honored to come here.
Absolutely. Yeah. And where can we help support you and find you? Should we direct people over to Facebook, or where can we stay tuned to your career in life?
My Facebook page is facebook.com/Louis Morris Poetry.
Okay.
My